Welcome to Health Oddity, the show that strips away the jargon and hype surrounding all things health and fitness to help you live a long, strong and energetic life. Lining up at the bar this week, here's Peter Lant, Paul Bassett and James St. Pierre.
Hello and welcome to the Health Oddity podcast, episode 128. We are joined today by a fantastic guest, a returning guest, with some new projects and some new things going on that we're going to catch up with him. But before we do that, I'm going to introduce you to the usual co-hosts of the podcast and check in with them and see how they are doing. Mr. Peter Lant, how are you doing, sir?
I'm doing very well. I don't know what to say because we've kind of just had a massive conversation before this one started, so I don't have to go through it all again. So
no one else has heard that though.
Yeah, I know, but you know when you've already said something and then you're like, oh, I've got to say it all again now. Yeah, I'm fine. I'm all good. Quite busy. Quite busy getting the steps in. The boys been for a walk because we don't get to go out for the rest of today because we record this on a Thursday, so I'm busy until 8 o'clock tonight. So yeah. So my day's pretty much done, apart from calls for the rest of the day. So that's the way it goes. So that's Thursdays in my house.
Excellent. But it's fairly cold and wintry, isn't it, and stuff. So it's
Well, you say that, right? This time of year it does my head in because
old man shouts at clouds.
It was man shouts at It was freezing cold at the beginning of this week, right? Freezing cold. So all of my clothes on, everything at home. And then I've just been out for a walk with a boy and I was roasting because the sun was out and it was lovely. So it's one of those, it used to happen, like in spring towards like the end of March. You'd be like, which clothes do I wear today? And you'd look out your window and, but now it's happening at the end of January. So I don't know what to wear.
Well, but just for the listeners, I mean, it's gone from like -4 to probably +4, hasn't it? Which is like an 8-degree swing. I know, but it's not warm.
+4 when the sun's out and you're in the middle of a field is warm. When you're walking as well and you've got a hoodie on and a
were you like Joey Tribbiani in Friends wearing all Chandler's clothes?
Yeah.
That what you were like?
It's not like I think in December I did a video on the Monday of doing some pull-ups in -5. And then about 3 days later it was 13 degrees.
Yeah.
It was like an 18-degree swing within a week. It was bonkers. Anyway, that's the weather for
you. Mr. Paul Bassett, how are you doing?
Yeah, don't ask me.
How long have you got?
Ignore that. Keep it brief.
Over. I'm interested to be educated on cricket because one of the only times I got a detention in PE was because I was sitting around refusing to play cricket, mainly because I couldn't really see the ball. One of the things about being short-sighted is a ball would just go past me and I didn't realize it'd even been hit. So I don't know anything about cricket. So I don't know whether that discounts me from the conversation or, but I'm certainly around to be educated on it.
That's where you're lucky that you live in the age we do now, because you can get glasses for that. Because I was reading a book about this, and in evolution, you wouldn't have survived. Because if you don't see something until the very minute it's in front of your face, that's going to be the big scary animal that's coming to eat you, isn't it?
I know. I used to play rugby without glasses on. That was difficult. Well, the thing is, when I did eventually get contact lenses, sometimes you get hit so hard they fly out.
I take it you don't play golf then, because golf, the ball is.
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to hear my opinions on golf. I probably alienate most people, but I get very bored of anything where there's a big gap between doing something and not doing something. So that huge gap, I don't know what to do.
You mean the gap between doing something and doing something again? So you take the first shot and then it's maybe 6 minutes till you take the next shot. Yeah.
Depends how far you hit it, doesn't it?
I think I'd be, yeah. Exactly.
What you should do is take
crazy
golf. Speed golf. There you go.
Speed golf. No, that I think is a proper sport. because it's you're doing things. Whereas the other one's more like darts, isn't it? I mean, look, I'm going to alienate. People are going to hate it.
Well, there's the
Anyway,
whole thing.
I'm the only guy who has no conversation around football.
There's the whole thing, isn't there? Because cricket's a bit like that as well. And this isn't.
Oh,
This isn't this isn't my opinion. We used to go on about this in the job I had when like in the office I used to work in, with like things like cricket, golf, darts, and all that. Are they a sport or are they a game?
Snooker, snooker.
Yeah, those sorts of things. Is it a game or is it a sport? And like there was a couple of the American guys were like, it cannot be a sport if you have to wear a jumper. I'm not having that. And you stop for dinner, you stop for tea, and all that sort of stuff.
Anyway, right. Well, that's the two co-hosts, and they've made some opinions known. And now we're going to move over to our guest for today, Mr. James Breese from Strength Matters. How are you doing today, James?
I'm good, guys. It's been a fascinating insight into the world of what goes on in your lives, both before recording, after recording, and just to jump on the bandwagon of being short-sighted. Like the reason I discovered when I was short-sighted when I was 12 years old, playing in a football trial for North Wales versus South Wales up near Conway, I think it was near Conway, in the floodlights, right, for the first time I'd ever done, and I couldn't see the freaking ball. Like, I was like, what is going on here? Why can't I see it? Thank God we won 7-1, and the goal they conceded, because I was a goalkeeper, wasn't my fault. It was just a good goal. But I literally, for the whole game, could not work out where the ball was at all. And I realized, maybe there's an issue with my eyesight there. So
were you just randomly jumping, hoping that the ball was coming towards you? And
pretty much.
Yeah.
Pretty much. And I was looking at that, where is it? I was like, God, it's just losing the floodlights. But it's weird how you discover those things. And I share that because I had laser eye surgery in 2007. And then this year, I've actually gone back to wearing contact lenses. So because I'm back to playing cricket again last year. And this year I was like, I can't see the ball quite well enough. Got my eyes tested, and I need glasses. So seeing the ball is very important. It makes a massive difference to anyone's life, not just a game of cricket as well. So
I was just thinking, like one of those, it's like a real life version. Do you remember those games you used to get in like a newspaper or magazine spot? You had to guess where the ball was in the photo.
Yeah.
They'd airbrush out the ball, and then it would be like a grid, and you'd have to kind of guess which, from the photo. Yeah. Real life version of that. Yeah.
Well, I think with a kettlebell overhead is probably further than my vision allows me to keep clarity. So even with a kettlebell, we'll be out of focus. So
can I just say, I think I'm the oldest here, right?
My eyes are perfect. Yeah, my eyes.
I don't wear glasses. I haven't got any fillings in all my own teeth. I've got hair. This is making me feel great. I'm doing all right here, aren't I?
Yeah, but I used to wear an eye patch at 5 years old, like a pirate.
Yeah, okay.
I've got
guys,
legs as well, and I don't own a parrot, so I'm doing all right.
Before we move on, I will just do my usual and say this is James's third visit onto the podcast. If you haven't listened to the previous two, I would probably highly recommend that you do, because we are going to be discussing some new stuff today that we haven't discussed before, but it would be a good idea maybe to hear where James has come from. You won't hear the whole kind of origin story and that sort of thing on this one. So the two episodes, we did this with Dave Whitley the other week, didn't we, as well? The two episodes that James has been on previously, this is episode 128. You have to go all the way back to episode 12 for his first visit, and then episode 48. So we just worked out it's 80 episodes since James has been on, so it's about 18 months, something like that, since we've had him on. So if you haven't listened to those, go back, listen to episode 12 and 48 before delving into this one. So James, so we got you back on, obviously, because I know there's lots of things you're doing at the moment, including a couple of new directions which kind of combine a few of your passions. I know obviously Strength Matters, training, programming, cricket we've mentioned. Also, I know that you've got your education was very much in sort of software and computing and things, and we're going to talk a little bit about some software and things that you're working on as well. So what is life like for you at the moment? You're living in
Cardiff.
Cardiff at the moment, yeah.
Yeah, so back in Cardiff, everything post-pandemic and everything back here in Cardiff. So living the dream in Cardiff. I like to say, since we've last come on, Pete's got a longer beard. He's almost looking like something out of ZZ Top over there, and he has the Death Star in front of him. And I'm liking the new microphone setup as well with all you boys. Like it's a full professional setup now.
This covers. I've just realised I've worn this T-shirt on here before, and it. If I sit there,
yeah, it does. It's like cock and balls.
So anyway, it's actually that, but
so I did see that. I did see that, and thought I might be very immature and very puerile if I point that out. But
Shall I put that as a thumbnail?
I realised, right? If you're listening, you can't. It looks like a cock and balls. I realised when I sat down and opened up the thing, and then I was like, I haven't got time to change it. But never mind.
So, James, living in Cardiff. So I'm sure I did speak to regular listener Sir Les Gray, who is a cricketer, a keen cricketer, and I said that you were going to come on today, actually, and be talking about, first of all, I will kind of say before we lose too many people, before we lose too many listeners, the whole thing's not going to be about cricket. We're not going to be talking about cricket for an hour. We have got other things to talk about. But James has recently, just in the last week or so, I think, been putting more content out. I mean, you spoke to me about this a little while ago, but it's now just starting to be kind of put out there in the public. Cricket Matters. So what's that all about?
Yeah, so it's been crazy. Like, it's funny what you discover and think about when you come across things. Now, one of the, over the last 10 years, for everyone again knows the story, traveling, teaching Strength Matters, teaching, working with personal trainers. But the thing that got put on the back burner was my own health and well-being, like in my own enjoyment, the stuff that I really love doing, which is fitness, training people, being healthy, getting out in the mountains, snowboarding, which I'm gutted you're going next week without me, right? But there's a reason why I can't go. We'll get into it now in a second. And also cricket. Cricket was a big part of me in my life growing up, ever since the age of 6 and 7. Like, I played age group, represented Wales up to under 16s, all these sorts of things, and played at a fairly high level. And life got in the way, stopped playing. I moved back to Cardiff, and within a day of me being back, quite literally, I said, "Hey, Breezy, we're short of someone who can play. Can you come and play again?" And I did. And it's kind of hooked me ever since. I've got back into it. And then the big, hairy, ambitious goal that I'm working towards this year now is that there's a World Cup in Pakistan in September. And I'm part of the development squad for that, and hopefully make the full final squad to go and play against all the other international teams out in Pakistan in all the test venues in September. So it's been a bit of a whirlwind, me back playing for Cardiff, trying to get in with the young guns, playing first team cricket again, that sort of thing. And it's just opened my eyes into the world of cricket and realizing that the fitness education, I think, for their cricketers is quite poor and quite limited, if I'm being brutally honest. So after conversation after conversation, I've gone, do you know what? I think cricketers need a little bit of help. So my little side project at the moment is Cricket Matters, where I'm just going to help cricketers train smarter and perform better. And what all cricketers want to do is they want to take more wickets, score more runs, and feel like an absolute pro. So that's kind of our tagline and our mantra. So it's sharing everything that we've been doing with Strength Matters for teaching coaches how we work with people, but going to more B2C, as in just consumer-based, and targeting it specifically at cricketers. So honestly, this last week has been fascinating because I'm starting a new business. I'm trying not to use my old networks to grow. I'm growing it from complete scratch. And it's fascinating to see what works and what doesn't. I've never used TikTok before in my life. That thing is just bonkers. And like, I posted one video, the simplest video in the whole wide world, and it suddenly is taking me from 0 followers to 390 followers and counting every minute. And it's had 25,000 views. And all it is because if you can see the video, you can see the video. But cricketers, bowlers like to warm up by just rolling their shoulders over like this and go, "Yeah, we're going to bowl." I just showed them how to do a proper articulation of the shoulder joints. They warm up properly like this, and it's gone viral. It's like the simplest, stupidest little video ever. but like it's something that's resonate with cricketers everywhere, and it's just gone berserk. So I'm kind of excited and enthused by it. It's kind of captured my attention and quite a few other people. And so we're there. Just before coming on here, I was plotting little things with a friend of mine who owns a big business in baby bib companies, who's a big cricket fan too. So we were like chatting about things like that. So that's kind of the big project I'm working on, as well as Strength Matters still, which is kind of going in a big new direction too in the coming weeks and months as well, as we split certain things off. So it's been exciting. So again, without boring anybody who doesn't like cricket and thinking, what the hell am I doing? I would recommend, if you are a personal trainer or a coach or just interested in growing businesses, I'm starting from scratch. It's quite a fascinating project to see how it grows and seeing what I'm doing, just taking what I've learned from 10 years. So I highly recommend checking it out just for that basis, basically.
So with Cricket Matters, is obviously it's good because you have got a clear target audience there, haven't you? You know who you're talking to. You're talking to, I presume, people who play cricket themselves, across, I suppose, kind of any level from grassroots kind of up, isn't it? It's kind of, it's and that kind of, that allows you to target your material, to target your advertising, to target your message very, very specifically. And like you say, do you think cricket is like, because I used to box quite a few years ago, and I know certain sports are kind of they're kind of, I suppose, a little bit behind in terms of picking up the whole kind of training and nutrition and strength, and they kind of just use, like you say, old school things that maybe grandparents who play cricket, and then they pass it down and they pass it down, and people are still doing stuff maybe that people were doing 50 years ago without really kind of deepening the understanding or using more kind of modern day science and that sort of thing. So is that what you're doing with Cricket Matters?
100%. That's exactly what I'm seeing. And also, cricket's at a very interesting time right now in terms of commercialization, because for both men and women, there is a huge opportunity to go out and make a living, a serious living, and create a financial future of yourselves through the sport of cricket. Whether you go and play in franchises in India, in South Africa now, in Australia, there's lots of money to be made. And it's like where professional football was maybe 30, 40 years ago. And it's starting to at that cusp of things moving forwards. So I think there's a huge opportunity there. And again, you're right. Again, just speaking to cricketers, they don't know. Like I was speaking to a pro here in Cardiff who plays for a professional team, and I was also speaking to a very famous player who used to play for England fairly recently as well. And their idea of nutrition was protein shakes, and the fact that Guinness has the same nutritional nutrient value as a salad. So that just gives you an idea of where cricketers are at. And also, a lot of professional cricketers smoke still, and it's seen as part of the culture where they're trying to do it. Now they're changing things here, but it's very old school, because you associate cricket sometimes in the 80s and 90s as the beer drinking culture. Like, how many cans of beer can you drink on a plane back from Australia? There's competitions like that, but it's becoming much more survival of the fittest, getting to the top.
I was about to say, the athleticism, the barrier to entry physically doesn't have to be that high. The skill level is extremely high. I mean, like a lot of sports which are skill-based, football and things like that, the game mind needs to be very, very precise, almost like chess, isn't it, in that sense, and then you've also got to have the coordination. But then you could be quite out of shape and play golf. You could be quite out of shape and play cricket. It's not to say that's the optimal place to be, but you can still probably enjoy it and have a great game. So sometimes it's like powerlifting. If you can't lift 150 kilos, you haven't done the work, it's just not going to move. But you could probably bowl with a beer gut, Yeah,
you can. And it's interesting, but the where it's going. So I'm doing a lot of work with the Wales over 50 team, the over 60s. And there's a lot of guys who see cricket as a second win. They think their careers are over. Like in the Wales over 50 team, there's ex-professional players in that team who thought their careers are over because they thought that cricket's had a toll on his body. But I've been working with them in their coaching program, and they've gotten back to playing cricket again. And it's a new lease of life for them. It's like they're going with their mates, doing stuff they enjoy doing. Like they're all off to South Africa for the over 50s World Cup in a couple of months' time. So it's interesting. But going back to the whole athletic thing, yeah, you can. In some club cricket on up and down the country, you can do that. You can absolutely do that. But there's not many people who play much over the age of 40, 50 because their bodies are broken and they don't know how to look after themselves. So there's a lack of education around it. In the professional game, I'm seeing this now, is that there are a lot of athletic players coming through who are also highly skilled, but there's a lot of overweight and overfat players in the professional game, I think, at the moment. I promise you now, I think in 10 to 15 years, it'll be like professional footballers. At a professional football player, they have to have a very low body fat percentage. They have to have here, not because they haven't got the skills to do it, but to be at that elite level, the competition for places is huge and the performance required is that much level. So I think, cricket is getting away with it, has been for years, but it's starting to, this last 10 years, it's starting to change. And I think in 10 to 15 years, particularly in the women's game, it's going to completely change again. And that's kind of why I'm targeting it, is because I think that there's a business niche there. There's a business niche that no one's going after. And B, I love cricket. Like it's a fun thing for me. I can relate to it because I play. Like I want to be playing as long as possible. I want to be in the Wales over 40. I was at net training session last night with Cardiff first team. Like I'm 40 years old. I shouldn't be as fit or fitter than the rest of the guys playing there, but I am. It's a competition for me to see how long I can play for. And there's only me and my mate DK, Dave, whose brother used to play for England, by the way. And we're the only ones in that age bracket. The rest of them are sub 28. And that's the difference.
It's funny that, right? I know nothing about cricket, right? But what I do think is funny is when I heard James go, James St. Pierre, just there, go, let's talk about boxing. I thought he was going to go, cricket's a lot like boxing. It's like, is it? But anyway, what springs to mind for me is immediately is the difference between, say, Federer and Nadal in tennis. And Federer's been able to go for years because he's got the finesse and all of that. And he doesn't look like he moves very quickly, but he moves really well. And he trained to play 5 sets against everybody and then never really got there until later on. Whereas Nadal, very good as well, but totally different style. And he grinds it out and he's injured all the time. And my girlfriend, Sean, her dad, he lives on Guernsey and he's been there for years, but he's been involved in cricket for years. He's coached kids in cricket and hockey and everything, and he loves it. But his knees are sore and all that. He's like proper old school. But his nutrition's rubbish as well, right? He's diabetic and all this sort of stuff. So I was speaking about this to some of my guys on Facebook the other day as well, about how important nutrition is for how your body moves, how your body feels as an organism and all of that stuff. And the more good stuff you put into it, the better stuff you get out. And then the less chance of injury and those sorts of things you have, the more focus you put on the actual thing that you're doing and not all of the stuff that it gives you to be able to go on a nice extended holiday. I mean, I know cricketers work hard and it's a long, it's like, is it like 11 months a year they're away or something like that?
Can be,
yeah. And you know what I mean? So it's like a nice long holiday and, we're away from the family and that, but we'll get to have a few beers and all that. But if you take your focus off that and work on the actual thing, then you can do, and you love it that much, you can do it, like you say, into your 50s, 60s and beyond.
And it is a big, and that's what the guys don't know. It's having that expertise and knowledge. And also cricketers like golfers, like they would rather spend 500 quid, £1,000 on new kit than invest in their health in some respects. And there's a lot of people in the fitness world and saying they're doing stuff for strength, for cricket, for stuff like that, but they're not playing. And there's this relatable factor. I can talk about in-game situations. I can talk about playing things that becomes this relatable factor. So I think it's just the two tie in really well together. It's just helping them understand the basics and doing. And you're right. Like we started doing a podcast, the Cricket Matters podcast, to tie in with the blog and everything else and the TikToks and TikTok. I can't believe what I'm saying TikTok. I've never been on TikTok in my life until this week. But it's just interesting. But it's the same approach we've been doing with people, everyday people, and helping trainers and stuff over the last few years to work with those people. But it's just specific to consumers, which means in the coming months, there's probably going to be a split from Strength Matters with Cricket Matters, where I'm going to go back into the world of focusing Strength Matters back on personal trainers and coaches to share what we're doing. But we're now going Cricket Matters along the sideline to showcase a real working fitness business that's working, and then the power of marketing and the systems we built from the systems of fitness we built to give to coaches. And that's where, like, the new program, the hybrid coaching program, is coming into play later this year, and in the future years. It's combining all that. And then the third thing is happening is I've developed the software. I've created a software company and developing software to help deliver this sort of coaching, which we'll explain more in the coming months. I can't say too much about it just yet, but it's kind of exciting seeing that tying into the whole equation now to help deliver certain things as part of the fitness equation.
So before we move on to, we'll kind of almost, draw a line under the cricket matters in a minute and move on to the hybrid coaching. But I was going to say, do you think you mentioned the kind of the increased sort of commercialism around cricket, and do you think, like other sports, I mean, rugby kind of springs to mind for me, whereby it's only, I think, probably in the last couple of decades where rugby's become like a really professional sport, and marketing and all the televised stuff and the sponsorship around it and the money the players get. Do you think because it's you've obviously got things like football is obviously in this country is kind of everything's football, isn't it? But tennis, golf, rugby now is cricket moving in that way where there's that kind of that, like you say, that all the marketing, the commercialism behind it, the sponsorship. So it's going to have to become more professional and take it. I'm not saying it doesn't take itself seriously at the moment.
No, but it is.
You know what I'm saying? It's kind of moving more in that direction because of that. Yeah.
So just an example, last week, the week before, so the largest cricket franchise in the world is called the Indian Premier League. We're talking, it's one of the most lucrative sports media deals and broadcasting partnerships in the world. Only second to the NFL. Right, but there's more viewers. It is that big in India. It's that huge in India and Asia. Cricket's massive. It's one of the biggest sports in the world because of the Asian community behind it. Now, what they just did, they signed a deal for £96 million for the rights for the women's game for the next 5 years. That is the biggest broadcasting rights for any female sport in the history of sport. That is monstrous. So I think that says everything. Now, I'm also potentially working with USA Cricket, who are trying to now realizing the commercialism of where cricket is going and to try and get cricket into America. So they're trying to do that side of things too. So there's USA Cricket set up, and I'm going to start working potentially with them to help them.
So is cricket growing then as a sport? Because I mean, is it
massively?
What's driving the growth? I mean, is it
the female game? The female game, the franchises, and the fact the money is coming into it, so players can now make a real living. If you'd have asked 5 years ago, you got two. Let's take Gary Neville and Phil Neville as a good example. They're both highly talented cricketers. I think Gary Neville opened the batting with Matthew Hayden for his club team back in the 90s before he had a choice. He had a choice to make whether to go pro cricket or pro football. Obviously, he went pro football. Like Gary Lineker is another good example. He was a highly talented cricket player. Like there's stories of him playing cricket before playing for Spurs sometimes and scoring hundreds and things like that. So but they naturally, even though they like cricket or whatever, right, they were going to go always more towards football because of the money they could make from it and how much they could do from it. Whereas now it's becoming a bit more equal. Still a disparity, but it's more equal and there's more opportunities. And for women, there's a huge opportunity for them to make a living from the sport because it's a bit more equal pay. And there's opportunities on TV for them in the summer now with the advent of the 100 in the UK. It's done wonders for the game, but there's a long way to go yet. So I generally think it's going to absolutely blow up.
I was going to ask about the American market actually, because that's actually, that is it probably, I remember first time I went to the States was about 25 years ago, and soccer over there then was not, no one was interested in it 25 years ago. And I think that it was the women's game of soccer, wasn't it? Where they soccer in America now is far more popular than it was 20 years ago, 10 years ago, 5 years ago. And that was almost, it seems to me anyway, I'm not in America, but it seems that was led by the women's game. And then the men's game is now, and the men's game obviously are doing a far better. So yeah, I mean, if you can go into, or if it can become you know, in the US, then that obviously opens up a huge market, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. And it's
yeah.
and again, there's lots of American people who are saying this is a great strength program for cricket. This is a great thing for cricket. They don't know the game. And that's the biggest difference. So it's funny at the moment, I'm combining my passion for cricket and playing it myself with my life's work of health and fitness and well-being, and now kind of tying it together, which is kind of, you know, it's actually quite fun. It's actually like it's simple stuff for me I've been done for years, but I've realized that no one knows it. Stuff that if we talk about it, we all take for granted. Like we all know, we've all done similar coaching in the past and gone through the same school of thought of learning personal training. So we all get it, but the mass market doesn't, and cricketers certainly don't.
I like that you've said that, because that's who we like mainly speak to on this podcast, isn't it? The end user, if that's what you want to call it. And that is brilliant, because like you say, we all kind of take it for granted, and we talk about this a lot on social media, and that we kind of end up in an echo chamber if we see it all day, every day, and we think it's obvious. But then it'll happen with all of us. You get a new client, or like I train people online as well. You get people online and they're kind of like, oh yeah, I do this and I do a bit of that. And then they send me videos and I'm like, I can help them instantly by just changing a couple of movements slightly. And then like, oh, my knees don't hurt anymore, and this doesn't hurt anymore, and this doesn't, and it's like, and they haven't even thought about that. Nope. You know, I used to be able to deadlift 140 kilos, but now my back gets sore. And then you watch them, get them to send you to do a deadlift for 50 kilos, and you're like, right, that'll be why. So it's really interesting that even professional sports people still don't know this, like you say, because it's never, because there hasn't, and it's, I think it's because, in my head, it's because of the money in it, as in there's not the money to spend on the people who know this stuff and who've learned this stuff to come in as coaches, because they're off coaching other people because they get more money for that sort of thing. So it's like, it's a similar sort of thing. And when we spoke to Chris Lowe on this podcast, the nutritionist, he was talking about he's the nutritionist for wasps, wasn't he? Isn't he?
Well, wasps are no more, are they?
Well, he was. So he was there.
Yeah,
so, but
God knows what.
Yeah, but it's he was saying, you know, it was only, like James had just said earlier, it was only just in rugby recently that they were worried about nutrition, because they should just rock up and play and then go out for like loads of beers afterwards. Yeah. And then when that became more commercialized, then it became more serious and what have you. So yeah, it seems like cricket's going to be next. I've also had a great business idea. I'm going to do Cricket Doesn't Matter, and I'll pick up everyone else. Right, so that's great. So now if we kind of, you almost kind of naturally segued us into the next conversation, I think there, Pete, where you mentioned online training. So
when you say almost, I mean, I know what I'm doing here, by the way.
This isn't just thrown together, is it? No. And then the next thing, James, you kind of mentioned another thing that you're working on at the moment and coming up. I know that you were recently out in Germany, weren't you? And you held a kind of a course out there. Maybe you can tell us about that. And then you're going to be bringing that to the UK, I think in April this year. And this again is combining sort of, again, it's two interests of yours, isn't it? It's the kind of the technology and the software and the kind of the online kind of programming and stuff like that, and you know, strength and fitness and health and lifestyle and all that sort of thing. So what's the next thing you're working on?
So this is the thing. So I've always, like, since 2016, 17, we realized that there's a big niche of online training. There's something out there that goes, well, do you know what? Like, no one was doing it back then. Like, post-pandemic, every man and his dog is now doing online training. Whether it's good or whether it's bad, it's up for debate in some people. But the point is, like, they had to, because the pandemic forced them into going to this world of here. Well, we segued into 2016, not because we saw the future of training being online training. I saw the future of combining online training with in-person training, and what we now term as the hybrid coaching model. Like, a hybrid coaching model is where I think the future of personal training is going to go. It's a future thinking, forward thinking approach to make it happen, because the issue you have with a lot of clients in some respect, which is great, but us as trainers, we want to make money from personal training. We get a lot of effort because we see the reward from people learning how to move better, get stronger, stuff like that. But long term, a lot of the time, if we take the stabilizing wheels off the bike, they fall off the bandwagon. And I think the model is always to help people become better versions of themselves, help them make better decisions, to focus on their effort long term. And that's what we've always been the plan. So even though the biggest thing that's held us Strength Matters back as a company is we haven't had a location. We haven't had a gym to showcase everything that we're doing with people. And I've always wanted to do it, but I've never been in the one place to do it, or never been able to find the right niche to do it. Maybe Cricket Matters, because we are trying to work towards a Cricket Matters Centre, where it's a gym and cricket training facility. That will become the place to showcase how we use the Strength Matters model into that. So, but the idea has always been to hybrid coach, to help people make better decisions, to take responsibility. So if they go away from us, right, they'll be fit for life. They can make better decisions. They'll know the skill sets we've taught them. And that's the goal here. So it's not to like take as much money as we can from them. We want to help them use this balanced model. And like, I don't think online coaching will ever replace in-person coaching for the skills and the relationships you build with people to help them. And we have what we call the feedback loop, where it's an instant feedback loop when you're working with somebody. So like if I'm working with Pete right now and I can see somebody who's going, I can tell him now, hey, I see this, or vice versa. He works with me, you can see this. However, online, there's a delay, like of maybe 1, 2, 3 hours, maybe a whole day, maybe a couple of days. So you're not going to get that. But the problem with in-person training is that how do you help somebody with the other 160 hours in the week that they're not training with you? So this is where it all comes together, where in an ideal world, people will be working in person with you, maybe once, twice a week, maybe come as part of classes or whatever you want, whatever they can do and afford. But then you're working with them alongside this other 160 hours a day model. And that's what we've been building for the last 4, 5, 6 years, and refining and making sure we can do it. Because again, with online training, a lot of the time I'm seeing people just using templates. And this has been popularized by some of the biggest names in online personal training out there. Create a template and just adapt it a little bit to other people down the line. Well, that's not the same as personal training. That's just a cheap way to do it. I'm not saying we're discarding anything, but like it's a cheaper way to give someone, like they all need the same thing. Well, yes and no. How do you make it something highly individualized to somebody? And that's the questions we've been trying to answer for the last few years. What is the system to allow us to make highly individualized programs for everybody that comes our way, but in a system that we can deliver quickly? And that sounds like two opposing opinions and options, but there's a way. But to do that, you need software and what we call algorithms. So, for example, we can run somebody through some assessments. We put them into the data scorecard, and we get a traffic light system straight away. 1, 2, 3, boom. These are the problem areas. That's what they need to work on. Therefore, we focus on that. But then the next problem is, what exercises can and can't they do based on those issues, right? So we then got another algorithm that goes, boom, right, avoid these exercises, focus on these areas, and then you write the program. So it's a very simple way to do it. So we've created this on spreadsheets and data. This is where the software is coming in, by the way. So it's like allowing us to make faster programs, quicker, but are more individualized for the person needed. Again, you guys have been through all the Strong First events. You know the FMS stuff, you know the movement screens, you know all that stuff. The hardest thing I always found was, well, how do you apply it? Because there's so many ways to go about where do you go next. And that's the kind of things that I've been trying to figure out, and Josh as well, behind the scenes to make it happen. So so Strength Matters went from working with personal trainers and coaches predominantly, and then we transitioned to this idea of working with online people. But at the heart of things, I've really missed working with personal trainers and coaches. I really enjoy the buzz of doing the events and helping them and seeing them implement it with their clients to help people get better and healthier. I've missed that kind of that thing in that system. So we're always trying to refine the system of that. Whereas now, what we did an event in Germany in December, it was a test pilot, basically. A, do I miss teaching these courses? B, does the system work? And C, do trainers want this, and can they use it, and does it work for their business? Now, in short, it's a yes to all three. I enjoyed it. the guys' feedback was positive, and it was like independent feedback, and the trainers are already using the system. We learned a lot, and we made adaptations to what we taught, because we realized we've got to change these things. And then, the event, James, at yours in April is a change to the course, but also a part of a bigger project we're doing, where we also know that live events are only a small part of it. We're going to build out a whole infrastructure, a module system, where we give them absolutely everything in how we develop and manage the system, the strength management, the software, to the assessment online, in person. How do you combine the hybrid approach to both? How do you do the cardio program, the strength program, individualized at scale and at speed? The set, business type of things, all these things. And again, like for example, I can use Cricket Matters as a business example of how to launch a business from 0 to 60. That's kind of where I want to use as well, and say what we're doing, what's working now, what works, what doesn't work, to pull things in and try that. So it's an interesting evolution. So I think I haven't announced to the bigger, wider world of Strength Matters that's happening yet. But yeah, we're going to be focusing more on personal trainers and coaches, with Cricket Matters being the fitness focus in the long term, with a software company sitting over the top, which is going to feed to both systems as well. So it's exciting times for us. We're enjoying it. We're liking the idea of going down this route. And the main thing is that we're going to build it out with people together, so it makes it useful and practical for everybody. So again, using my software, my master's was in computer science, so randomly back in the day. And I know when developing new software, you have to do what you call an MVP, a minimum viable product, because you want to create a product that's useful and practical for people, not what you think it is. And in the past, I was developing courses for people thinking this is what they need and like delivering it to them. Whereas now I'm going to flip it on the head and go, no, actually, this is what I think I need right now. Give them a little taster and then get them on board as early adopters to start working with us to go, no, what do you actually need? What can I do as a coach to help make your lives easier? How can I help you write programs faster? How can I help you engage your communities faster? How can I help you, gain new customers? And I don't mean in the business marketing kind of business coaching way, but how can I make something that you do so viral that people want to join in and have fun? Does that make sense? That's the project here. And I don't think there's a product like it on the fitness market for trainers and coaches. And I don't know what it's going to look like in the long term, but pulling people in to help us build it out is where we want to go to with it. Does that make sense? All my waffling.
That sounds great, because it to me, it says how complicated all of this stuff is. Because people go, I'll just go to a personal trainer and they'll give us a few exercises, I'll bounce around for a bit and then I'll be sorted. And it's like, there's definitely a perception in my head that is a perception that people have. And there's lots of apps out there where you can look like this Hollywood actor if you download this app and all of that sort of stuff. But we all know that there's other stuff that you need to do or take to get to look like that as well. But so it's kind of like false advertising, if you want, that sort of thing. So there's all that stuff out there, but it's all like very cheap and very kind of, well, okay, you've bought it and here's the exercises you need to do, or follow this program and it's a complicated thing, or it's the program this person followed to look like that. But it doesn't mean everyone else will, because everyone's individual. And that's what I really like about that. And the whole algorithm stuff behind it of you're an individual, you turn up, you're an individual, you're going to need something different to like, us three work with Paul and we all do different, Paul McElroy, and we do different things. We've got slightly different goals, but we all do different things. But we do the same things over and over and over and over again until we get better at it. And I really like that. And the way I train people online is I just train them as an individual. So they send me videos, I view it and all that. I haven't got an algorithm. I haven't got all that. But that obviously costs a lot more money, because you've got to, as the consumer, you've got that person with eyes on you, and there's only a certain amount of people you can serve doing that. But with yours, it sounds like you can serve a lot more people, but in a kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? It's with more integrity.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean? Because that's what apps lack, is integrity. Because it's just, I used to use some software where it was basically upload a load of videos. You could use their videos, but I didn't like them, so I uploaded my own. And it just turns into a video library. And I was like, I've cancelled it because I was like, I'm not comfortable with that. I used to use it in the past, and now I'm like, no, I work with people as an individual. So it sounds like your thing is, guy, it's had a lot of thought behind it, which is
that's it. And I know all you three, right? I know the value you bring to your clients, right? I know it. However, there's hundreds and thousands of people out there who don't know what you do because they don't understand it. Are you with me? Like, it's like they don't get it. Like, they want to look like Chris Hemsworth from Limitless, right? They see Chris Hemsworth's shirt off. I want to look like that, right? They kind of go beyond a little bit of like why he's doing these things for health. They just, no, I want to look like Chris Hemsworth. But you guys are delivering help. This is the thing for us. The thing that we keep coming back to is that we're helping people train for health and longevity. And that is not sexy shit. That is not sexy shit, but it's the stuff that's going to help you live towards 100 years old. So James, our goal for me and you, mate, is to be snowboarding when we're 100 years old, okay? I'd love to see that happen, right? That's the type of stuff I want to go for. It's why I'm still playing cricket at Premier League level when I'm 40 years old, right? That's because I'm training. I don't train for out and out strength or out and out elite stuff. I'm training for health and longevity. Like, there's the things I've added to my training plan in the last year. I do yoga every day now. Simple as it sounds, I use Fitness Plus from Apple. I do Jessica. Well, I'd love to do Jessica, but like that's like no, but
I'll edit that bit out, shall I? Sorry, Jessica. If you're called Jessica and you're listening, sorry.
Holy no! I just realized as soon as I said that, I said I do Jessica. Like, that's no. She's.
You've just said it again.
I'm still gotta go. Dig hole. But I focus on that. That the yoga every day is what makes me feel I can't. I've lost it now. No, but it's adding these things to longevity that helps improve people's performance, not just banging out sets and reps and hitting heavy weights all the time. It's the other added mix of what is balanced health, what is balanced longevity. And again, you can't really truly define it. We have it as a balance between health, movement, strength, and cardio. That's our 4 pillars. And you need all 4 in balance. And we're not talking elite strength levels. Like, one that people can relate to, was 2 tests maybe, is 2 simple basic to entry tests. Can you hang from a bar for 60 seconds? It's a yes or no, like, because that's just looking at grip strength. Second one is, can you hold a plank for 2 minutes? Most people can't. Like, there's 2 areas there. So all the other tests I don't care about until you can get a strong core and strong grip. It's irrelevant, because that's the basics and foundation for all the other strength you're going to do. Now, higher level strength testing, all I'm looking for is, can you deadlift 1.5 times body weight for 5 reps? Is that elite? No. Is it hard for a lot of average people? Yes. But we know that you get to that level, right? And this is taken from the Navy SEALs, right? There's a correlation of, like, anything over that level has a detrimental effect to you, or doesn't add anything more to whatever you're trying to do. Cricket is a great example. You have to be lean and wiry and athletic to play cricket at a high level, because it's an endurance type sport. If I try and go for 3 times body weight on a deadlift, it's going to slow me down. It's going to make my joints ache like crap. So it's a time and a place. So we're looking for baseline standards, and then we can go and niche down to where you want to go to, whether it's to powerlifting, whether you want to add whatever to your deadlifting stuff, whether you want to be more athletic, whatever it is, then you niche down. But it is very much the case of, we're trying to make sure it's the health and longevity aspect for coaches and trainers to understand, well, how do you pull it in? How do I realize, like, again, another good example. I've known this over the years. Not everybody is right for assessments. I've learned this the hard way. I think, probably we all think, that we need to be assessed, because without assessments, you're just guessing. However, most people are, I don't want to be assessed. I just want to work out. I just want to do this. So it's having this funnel and this idea of, okay, when somebody comes to you for the first time, you've got to screen them in a nice, without them knowing they're being screened. And you've got to realize, and the way we describe it is, are they of a high performance mindset, or are they just an everyday athlete, right? Who just want to feel better and move better and get stronger and fitter and healthier. If they're high performance, we go down our whole assessment system and we'll go, boom, less than 10% come into that line. The other 90% will get them to do 3 or 4 assessments where we can get a rough idea of how well they're moving. It doesn't take them too long, right? but we know we've got to focus on here to make them move better. And maybe when they learn a little bit more about you, they'll come into the high performance mindset and rhythm here, but most of them don't need it. Most of them don't need it. And for all my training and all my I'm working with Gray Cook at the moment. Like, I'm literally for all the information, working with these guys behind the scenes and this knowledge, 99% of it is irrelevant to pass on to the everyday person. Not because I'm a bad person and I want to hold it back from them. I started off when I first became a trainer. I wanted to shout from the rooftops, "Oh my God, I've learned about this." You've got to let people come to you at the right time, at the right place, and do it. And then, and so that's the whole thing with Strength Matters now, is helping people understand that train for longevity, but give them the tool sets to make their lives easier. And hopefully incorporate the power of AI to help you do that. But not just for online coaching. I'm talking in person as well, where, and this is what we're seeing at Strength Matters at the moment. We've had a huge drop off in numbers of online clients coming to us, right? Because of the global recession, the pandemic, everything else in here. There was a big boom, and every man and his dog's doing it. But, and you guys probably can tell me better than this now, because I'd love your thoughts on this. But I'm seeing a lot more people coming back into in-person training, and it's in-person training with a bit of online stuff that here is going on. So it's done swings and roundabouts a little bit. So, but that's what we'd be. It's not an online coaching thing. It's far from it. It's what I call the hybrid coach. It's the ability to coach in person and online, and it's seamless. It's a seamless effect of working with the people like that. So they don't know whether it's an in-person or online thing. They just see it as coaching. That's our spin, and that's the mark. And like I said, we're doing it as a beta test in April with you guys, James, and then we're going to turn into a full-blown online module infrastructure learning system with a cohort and looking after people from a mentorship to help them do it online as well. So it's a big shift in what we're doing, and then using hopefully the power of technology as well to help you guys do that. So
no, I think it's great in terms of, like you say, that going back to the kind of cricket and kind of meshing the two conversations we've had, regardless of if you have a sport or what your sport is, or if you don't have a sport or whatever age you are, the first thing to focus on is health and longevity and movement and just functioning as a human should, isn't it? Regardless of the sport. And then really, so probably for the majority of people, 70% of what we're trying to do, it's the fundamental human movements. It's what we spoke about before, the WWS, the walk, water, sleep, all that kind of stuff. And then if you are focusing on cricket or football or tennis or rugby or whatever, or running or cycling or triathlon, then you kind of sprinkle that stuff into the last 30%. But the 70% is just becoming a well-functioning, healthy human being. Because unless you've got that 70% bedrock, the 30% of sort of specialization on top of that is not gonna do anything, is it? So I think that's what I see so much now. I mean, people, and touching on one thing that made me think when you both yourself and Pete started talking about the online programming world and the apps where you kind of get given a generic program. In many ways it's the same as being given a generic, what a lot of people think they want or think they need is a meal plan. Give me a meal plan, and it's kind of like, tell me what to eat for breakfast, lunch and dinner and I'll do it. Give me a meal plan. But that's just going to be spat out generically, and it's not actually helping you to learn anything or to develop any intuition or to develop any skills. We had Josh Hillis on, obviously, any eating skills or any understanding. It's just giving you, just do this in the same way that a training app does. So it's really interesting.
I'll give you a specific example right now. People who have back pain from deadlifting. Okay, people are, we're seeing a lot of people, and this is fine. People will say, this is where physios, chiros who don't know what they're talking about say, don't do deadlifts. It's going to hurt your back, right? I'm not on that spectrum. I know deadlifts are really important. However, there's a middle ground. And this is something I found fascinating, and this is me again, literally in the last 6 months, working with Gray Cook and Perry Nicholson behind the scenes on various different things. And what I didn't realize was the importance of how healthy your shoulders are in relation to the hips for deadlifting. So when we classics, I'll tell you now, we have our correction algorithm. When we're working with people, when we've gone through the assessments, it starts with breathing, balance, shoulders, because neurologically it's close to the brain. That's how we go things. Now in FMS, you go active straight leg raise, then shoulder mobility, then rotary stability. We're working top down. So we go breathing, balance, shoulders, rotation, and then we go into your various lower body parts to see how it goes. When people are deadlifting, they can test perfectly fine on their hip mobility and how they're moving here now. But if we try and get them into what we call an active straight leg raise, they try and raise one leg higher than the other, but we put the shoulders into external or internal rotation like this, suddenly their lower legs will drop. They'll lose 6 to 12 inches, right, on that heater now. So we know that the body's compensating to get that extra leg movement. So it means that their pelvis and everything goes into twisted movements and their backs keep going out. Now, that's our system now. That's the algorithm corrections we're looking at. So whereas before I go, well, their hips are fine, so they can deadlift, and their shoulders, it's a shoulder issue. We're now looking at it more holistically and going, no, actually, we're pulling back the deadlifts temporarily. We're going to go back onto the shoulders and really focus on the shoulders and see how it does. And then what we've just found in the last 12 months is people's back pain is starting to ease off a lot more, and they're less likely to go back into spasm a little bit here now. It's just little, that's a very minute little thing that we're looking at now. But because of that system, because of the tools we have in place, it's like, I always like to call it, like, have you seen The Founder by McDonald's? Like the Speedy system, right? I love that film. It's where the whole strength management system kind of started from here. It's like the Speedy system. There's nothing to failure. They're doing their little things on the tennis court, like moving around like this. This is our Speedy system. So we plug in the assessments. We then see the red, green, yellow traffic light system. It then goes, right, avoid these exercises temporarily, and we're going to focus here. And then we'll retest and go back, and it helps spit it out. So we can do here. Because again, when we write in the workouts, this is every one of us here will write our own separate workouts, because that's the fun part of fitness. We all have a special ways. It's why people work with Pete over Paul, over James to me, right? It's different because they'll associate themselves better with each of us, and that's fine. That's absolutely cool. It's how it should be. I'll get more cricketers because I play cricket, right? And
I'll get everyone else.
Exactly.
It doesn't matter.
Exactly, yeah. But that's fine. But it'll give us an idea to help program faster and quicker with what we're trying to do, because we can help more people. And again, the model of online coaching, if you want to do templates, it's thousands, right? Individually, you're talking 1 to 30 tops. That's the optimal thing we find here. Whereas we can maybe now play with 1 to 50 a bit more, so you can pull more revenue coming in. And again, when you're working with people in person, maybe you can work with more people in person, but you're seeing them only once a week, and then you're working with them the rest of the week. So you can touch more people, potentially get more revenue, but it's also not as much stress. You're not doing 100 clients a week in person, like multiple sessions. It's the balance between the two. Help more people, which we all want to do, but also make money and make our life easier, because it's not easy being a personal trainer or running a gym, because you're up till from 4 in till 10 at night sometimes. It's the penance we pay for trying to help people and wanting to make a difference, right?
I love what you said there about the connection between things. So it's kind of like, someone who can do, I don't know, like a goblet squat, but can't do a squat with the arms over the head because it changes everything. And I had something really interesting recently. So I like the way you said you do the breathing first, because a guy who comes to me, he's 60. I think I've spoken about him on here before, and he struggles to stand on one leg. And he's a rower. He's been rowing for years. He runs. He's fine. One side's stronger than the other because he's a rower. So obviously that's just how it works if you've been rowing for years, because you've got one shoulder up and one down while you're pulling. But his stability is amazing. He can get into, he can do a push-up and then like take one arm and one leg off the floor and hold a plank like that. No problem. And he breathes absolutely fine. He can do squats fine. He can do swings. He's just started doing snatches. Everything is all fine. Get him to stand on one leg and he can't do it. First thing he does, and I've tried lots and lots of different things and thought, we'll just work on it and keep doing it. Try get you doing cross crawls, get you on the floor and do dead bugs and stuff like that. But like I say, you can hold a plank on one arm and one leg, so dead bug's dead easy. So that hasn't been helping. And then eventually I got to a point and I was like watching him and I was like, right, take a deep breath and breathe out and then stand on one leg. And all of a sudden he was a bit more stable. So his central nervous system just doesn't like him stand on one leg. That's all it is.
Yep.
It's as simple as that.
For
some reason, we don't know why. So I was like, right, I want you to practice that and breathe in, breathe out. Just calm yourself down and then stand on one leg while breathing out. And then keep breathing because he holds his breath. And it's changed everything.
It's honestly, it is. And that's the first thing. That's one of the simple tests we ask people to do is, can you stand on one leg with your eyes closed? And we want to know, we don't tell them for how long, but we want a minimum 15 seconds. Health yellow is 30 seconds. Green is 60 seconds. We don't tell them the scores, but that's that number here. Because I know, and again, I'll hypothesize here now. Maybe he's rolled his ankle in the past. Maybe we don't know. But it's looking for those things.
As far to my knowledge, he hasn't. But you never know. People forget, don't they?
Exactly. No, exactly, and not in a bad way. But that's something we look for, particularly runners. A lot of runners roll over their ankles. What's the highest percentage of cause of injury? It's site of previous injury. That's the sort of thing you're looking at. So we're looking at now, whereas we're screening everything without them knowing. But for me, the balance is a CNS issue. It's the handbrake that's going to hold you back. I've seen runners like Teresa, for example, one of our clients. She's in her 58, 59. Her balance was awful recently, and we've literally worked on her balance. And suddenly she's hit a 1.5 mile PR. And she's running 10 miles faster. And all we've done different is change her balance system, because it's the handbrake. We feel it's the handbrake of the body. So if the CNS ain't firing optimally, then, from Paul's programming, it's all about working with the comfort zone, expanding the comfort zone. It's the same with the CNS with balance. We feel that's an important part of health, but also part in towards strength training as well. And you combine the both, then your longevity and health expands. Then your strength levels go up, and he's staying within that comfort zone. And the same with cardio. Again, I always quote Paul when I say this about comfort zones. The same when I do cardio program, I'm flirting with the line, right? I'm never trying to go above it. I'm flirting, expanding it, so we can raise the peak at the top. So yeah, I'm excited about it because it does combine everything I've done, and it gets me working out with trainers and coaches again. But I'm more excited at the fact that I can work with intelligent coaches who value health and longevity to build out something that hopefully the market has never seen. And that's the biggest difference I'd like to happen, is that, if you could help another coach, or for example, let's take James as an example. James, you get new coaches coming into your to work for you, which will happen naturally, natural cycles of everything, life evolving. What was there for how can I help them be onboarded into the system of how you coach things quickly, so everyone's on the same page. That's kind of what we want to try and do and develop. And like I said, I don't think there's anything out there at the moment to help that. You can do the personal training course, you still need to do that stuff, but this is for the more experienced coaches who want to try and have systems in place so they can live more comfortable lives but still deliver optimal, high intelligent training plans. That isn't something that I'm saying you must do this, otherwise it's wrong. No, far from it. It's giving you frameworks like a pick and mix. You don't get a pick and mix from the cinema. You want to choose the best bits of what's going on. It's the framework to allow you to do your thing, to make you when it comes to training. You shouldn't really use pick and mix, should I? In a sense of like
I've got a joke about pick and mix at the cinema, but I'll keep it for the end.
Brilliant. It's not disgusting, is it?
No, it's not.
Okay.
I've already lowered the tone today, so it's my fault. I apologise.
I've got James thinks
I don't even think I could make it disgusting. Sorry, Paul.
Most of our listeners are like Mary Whitehouse or something.
Right. Well, I think what we'll do is, we'll start to wrap up now. So we've been on for about an hour. I was just going to say, James, with the hybrid coaching, I know you've got a date for that. You've just released. Do you know what that is off the top of your head?
It's the 15th, 16th of April, and it's taking place at Unique Results in Chelmsford.
In Chelmsford, in Essex, yeah. And I don't think you've yet released kind of sign up information and stuff, have you? But I just saw something yesterday. I think that you were that's gonna go out quite soon, isn't it?
Yeah,
So,
it's the idea behind it is we're going to launch it to past instructors first. I'm going to discount it to the instructors. We kind of want to keep it small, so we're building it out. So the initial release will only be to past instructors to begin with, and then whatever space is available will then open up to the general public, and then we'll hopefully build out together with a cohort, monthly calls, webinars throughout the next 12 months to see where we go to after that. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully, if a lot of people have messaged already saying, "Hey, when's it on? When's it happening?" So
yeah, no, like I say, I had a couple of people message me just when you started kind of mentioning it and teasing it. People mentioning, messaging me about, do you know when it is? How do I sign up for it? The rest of it. So yeah, that'll be coming out soon, which will be great, and I'll obviously be there as well, and some of my trainers. So no, that'll be fantastic. Pete, while we're wrapping up, do you want to finish with anything? Do you want to tell us this pick and mix story?
Well, number one, I've loved this because I think it's needed because it's one of those things in this industry, and well, in every industry really. When you think about it, everyone wants things quickly when that doesn't happen. So it sounds like a great way to personalize people's programming, in a way that they want it delivered. Because this is the thing, it's like you're saying, what people want and what they need is very different, and people want things to be convenient. So it's a very difficult to deliver that online, especially. So there you go. That's a serious bit. So the joke is, I've forgotten it. Oh no, that was it. Yeah. I was at the cinema and I tried to pay for my pick and mix with a £50 note. But they said they wouldn't accept it. So I had to use 2 20s and a 10.
Brilliant.
I love that joke.
Yeah, that's better than I thought it was going to be. I didn't know what you were going to say, but no.
Paul's just in the background, just with a smug little grin in his face. He's not moving.
Yeah, Paul's. I think his internet must have frozen.
Yeah.
Paul, would you like to say anything as we wrap up?
My question, James, was it Jessica Chastain, Jessica Alba, Jessica Biel, or Jessica Rabbit you're thinking of?
All of them combined.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. That was it from Paul. Okay. So, James, thank you so much for joining us again for your third visit with us.
Pleasure.
So I really look forward to seeing you it's only in April, in about 3 months' time, in Chelmsford. That'll be great, and I'm sure we'll see a number of coaches that we already know, and I know from other things as well. So it'd be great to catch up and have dinner and all that sort of stuff as well, which will be great. Yeah. No, very, very good. So that's April was it 15th or 16th?
16th. Yeah.
15th or 16th. Brilliant. Okay, fantastic. So thank you very much for listening. Please do like, share, subscribe, leave a review if you're listening on a platform that allows you to do so. I won't be on next week. I will be away snowboarding, but Peter and Paul, I think, will be on with a very special guest who I'm a bit gutted. I'm going to miss, actually. So I think it's going to be a really good one. Yeah. So that will be very good. But I will look forward to listening to that when it comes out. Thank you again, James, for joining us.
Pleasure, guys. Thanks so much for having me. Really appreciate it.
Cool. And we will see you next week. Bye-bye.
You've been listening to Health Odyssey with Peter Lant, Paul Bassett, and James St. Pierre. To get your regular fix of hype-free health, you can subscribe and leave a review wherever you get your favorite podcasts. You can find out more on today's and other topics at healthodyssey.com, or find us on Facebook or Instagram by searching for Health Odyssey.